So this morning, I read a couple of things that directly applied to today, which I have to share with you because it's amazing to me when things like this happen, the synchronicity of it. But when I got up in the wee early hours this morning, I went to my Mary Magdalene Oracle that I've been doing since July and picked a card. And the card was one I had never picked before, and it was the second power. Now, the second power, the powers in Mary, the gospel according to Mary, are 7 egoic powers that in our humanness we're always dealing with. And we're not meant to transcend them. We're not meant to spiritual bypass them. We're not meant to let go of them. We're meant to bring them love, that they're just part of our human experience. And the second egoic power in Mary's gospel is clinging, which we're doing the burning bowl today. So it's what the question that I took into meditation was, what am I clinging to, or what am I trying to hold on to that needs to be released? Then the second thing that I read as I was reading my email, I had an email from Heather Cox Richardson, and she talked about the Wounded Knee massacre that happened on this day in 1890. And she said, as haunted as she felt by what happened that day in South Dakota with the Native Americans, the day before is what she wanted to talk about, and how the day before something, we can't change the past, but what might have happened the day before to not let that have happened. That we always have an opportunity it's never too late to change the future. That what we do today, the actions we take today, the shifts we make today, the things we release today have a directly related to what happens tomorrow. And so we're using our power of release to let go, our power of discernment to know what to let go, and our power of imagination to imagine how we want this year to go. Imagine how we want tomorrow to be. What actions will you take today to make tomorrow more beautiful, to make tomorrow more loving or joyful? And so that's what we do in the burning bowl. We release, and then we set an intention for the next year. And I just love this ritual in unity. And it reminds me of the scripture way back in the book of Genesis, in the Hebrew scriptures, talks about Lot. And he was trying to leave, or he was leaving Sodom and Gomorrah. He was warned to leave there. And it said, don't look back. Don't look back, just leave. And what does his wife do? But she looked back and turned into a pillar of salt. Now, did that really happen? I don't know. Does it matter? What matters is the lesson in that is that we have eyes in the front of our heads so that we can see what's right in front of us. We don't have eyes back here. We want to look forward, not look back. And it's great to look back and reminisce and have memories and what lessons we can learn from the past, but not to stay there. That we want to look ahead, that we want to look forward. And so the more we look back, the more we're paralyzed, really, into looking ahead. We're paralyzed. We get crystallized. We get like a pillar of salt. Pillars can't move. And so we want to look forward and not turn into a pillar of salt, but to use our power of imagination to look ahead. So I read a story this week of a teacher who was teaching some high schoolers. And he said, I have a homework assignment for you tonight. Tonight I want you to go home and write down the name of every person that you envy. But don't write it down on a piece of paper. I want you to write each name on a potato. And bring in your potatoes tomorrow and we'll talk about it. Some people the next day, some kids brought in, 2 or 3 potatoes. Some people brought in a whole sack full of potatoes. And they were anxious to talk about how these people didn't deserve what they had. The teacher didn't talk about it. He said, bring your potatoes back the next day. Bring your potatoes back every time. And so this went on for days. Keep bringing your potatoes back. Until finally the potatoes were starting to get rotten. They were starting to smell. And the kids were having none of this. Like, I don't want to carry this anymore. I want to release this. And so the teacher told them, when you carry something on your heart like that, like envy, and it could be anything, it doesn't have to be envy. When you hold it, when you carry it, it just gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And so how many of you wanted to release those potatoes? And they all wanted to just let go of those potatoes. Well, think about what a toll those emotions, those old beliefs, that old stuff that's no longer serving us, what a toll it takes on our hearts. What a toll it takes on our consciousness to keep holding on to them when they don't serve us. We can't move forward if we're carrying this heavy sack of potatoes around with us. It's just hard. It's heavy. It smells. Like the Dead Sea, we need an outlet, not just an inlet. The Dead Sea has no outlet, so things can't live in there. There's no life in there. There's no life when we're not in the flow of life. And Eric Butterworth talks so often about the flow, how we need to be in the flow of life, and how things like stress really hold us back. We need to have a release. He talks about how this stress release that, think about today and how much information is always coming at us. It's overwhelming. It's instantaneous. And we need a release valve or something on our minds to let go of those old beliefs, those old thoughts, those old emotions that are keeping us from being who we came here in this life, in this incarnation to be, to live into our potential. He said, we don't need a coffee break, we need a prayer break. We need to be still a moment and discern, use that power of wisdom to discern what needs to be released. What am I hanging on to that isn't serving me now, is stopping me from being who I want to be? Moses is a great example of this. He was given this guidance that he was to lead his people out of Egypt. And he put up all kinds of objections to God. Anybody ever do that to God? Like, nope, have an argument with God? No, I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm not a good speaker. I can't do that. The Pharaoh's not going to let them go. No, no, no. And God, Spirit, oh, yes, you can. Oh, yes, you can. See, he was being guided to be more, to be a leader, to set his people free. And he needed to release those things that held him back from that. And of course, he did set the people free. They were free from Egypt. What are we holding on to that is keeping us tied, keeping us tethered, that we want to be free? The day before Christmas Eve, I was working on my Christmas Eve talk. And I was having one of those kind of arguments with God. I wanted to use my iPad. Ego Sue wanted to use her iPad. I've always used my iPad or notes on Christmas Eve. I can't possibly, there's too many people here. I can't possibly go without it. And Spirit was saying to me, do you trust or not? You've been showing it. You've been showing up, trusting me since August. Come on. Are you going to? Yeah, but. How many of us say that? Yeah, but. Yeah, but. I got to stay on schedule. We've got 2 services, and I have to stay on schedule. Do you trust or not? A lot of the things that we hang on to, that we cling to so tightly, is because we don't trust enough, because there's a lack of trust. One of the things I know for sure is that when I follow my guidance, Spirit never lets me down. It may be scary. It might be something I'm not quite clear I want to do, but it always unfolds in great ways. It always unfolds for my highest good. I can always look back and see that it was something for my soul, something my soul needed. And so today we're going to be letting go and then setting intentions for 2025. What do we want to be in 2025? What do we want to do in 2025? It's very much like what we teach in Prosperity Plus, and we'll be starting Prosperity Plus. You've heard the announcements, you've seen the slides, January 22nd. We're starting over with the first one, the first class. And this first one is a lot about building a vision statement. What would you love? What would you love your life to look like? What would you love to be? What would you love to do? Not worried about how you're going to do it, but what would you love? And setting an intention, as we're going to write these letters today, what would you love?